Dolphins lost the first fourth-quarter nail-biter of the season, suffering a 27-24 defeat to the Green Bay Packers in the final seconds. Aaron Rodgers put on his cape and stole a victory from Miami's defense. Was it just a good play by an elite quarterback, or did the Dolphins and players blow it? We'll discuss that today on X's and Omar.
I felt like showing up late today because the Dolphins, they show up late for every game, right, except for the Oakland game, which really wasn't a game.
Right.
But, want to keep it consistent.
So you're going to have a strong second half and then let everyone down at the end?
The second half is the plan.
Okay, great. He's Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. I'm CBS 12's Matt Lincoln. You are disappointed Dolphins fans who have questions that you want answered. We'll take those questions on Twitter. All you have to do is ask them using the hashtag XOmar or send us a video question using the same hashtag. We'll take your questions and challenges on Twitter. All you have to do is ask them using that hashtag. And if we do get a challenge from you, we'll get our referee Jamel to come and throw the challenge flag for us.
And I know there are a lot of people who have challenges for me because I have said some harsh reality things about their quarterback and about their head coach.
And you think people don't agree with that out there?
Some don't, some do, some don't.
Okay. Well, you did write a very strong column that claims Joe Philbin and Ryan Tannehill are not the right fit for this team outside of their 17-20 record. What brought you to that conclusion?
If you look at Ryan Tannehill, he's a third-year starter. Mm-hmm. He started 37 games. Yes, he's in a new offense, but you invested in him as as a starting quarterback for the Dolphins, hoping that he would transcend and become a top 15 quarterback. Right now, he's the 30th best quarterback in the NFL. Statistically, he's poor in the third quarter. He's poor in third downs. He's poor in the fourth quarter. Accuracy is an issue. He's not getting better. If you look at his first 2 years, Ryan Tannehill had 8 games each season of 85-plus passer rating. This season, he's only got 1, and that's Oakland. That was a scrimmage. That wasn't a real game. And if you look at it, I'm honestly ready to move on from Ryan Tannehill after you get to the San Diego game. These next 3 games, he's got to produce at least 2 games of 85-plus passer rating, because right now the Dolphins are not good enough for them to play with a quarterback who's not playing winning football. And Ryan Tannehill is not playing winning football. And in terms of Joe Philbin, a coach's job is to put his team in position to be successful. When you are in the first quarter and you're playing a game that you know has to be a shootout and you go for it instead of taking the points on 4th and 1, and I know a lot of Dolphins fans love the aggression, but a coach's job is not to be aggressive, right? Joe Philbin is the most aggressive coach in the NFL. He's gone for it on 4th and 1 more times than anybody, 4th down more times than anybody in the NFL. That's not always the right recipe for your team, especially when you're a finesse team that cannot convert tough yards. You should have went for the field goal. At the final series of the game, why is Philip Wheeler, your worst coverage linebacker, on the field at all in a nickel package when you know Aaron Rodgers, arguably the best quarterback in the game, is going to be passing all series long? Philip Wheeler, there is nobody on the defense who covers worse than Philip Wheeler. Nobody. I would have rather Randy Starks be out there on the boundary covering the tight end as opposed to Philip Wheeler. You're putting your team in positions to lose, and a head coach can't do that. If you look at Joe Philbin's tenure as a Dolphins head coach, as we said, 17-20 record, they have lost too many fourth quarter games. They have lost too many games in the fashion that they lost Green Bay. Sometimes, yes, players have to step up and make plays, and the Dolphins certainly defensively lost a lot of opportunities to make plays in that game. But if you look at the instances where last year coaching was the problem that cost you at least 4 to 5 games, and this year it's already cost you 1, you don't have that much talent to afford these losses.
No. Let's take our first question. It comes from Keneal Jackson. He asks, do you think Philbin is the right man for the job? What we have seen so far is that he is not, is what you're saying.
He's not, and I don't see him becoming that guy. From this standpoint, I evaluate coaches on three areas. Can you motivate? Clearly, Philbin can't. Can you put your team in positions to be successful, maximize your strengths, hide your deficiencies? I would give him a passing grade on that one. And the third element is, can you develop a quarterback? The quarterback that you need in order to become a respected franchise, can you develop that quarterback? Well, Ryan Tannehill is not developing. In fact, he's regressing.
Right. And You've talked about it a lot on Twitter. There are lots of people out there who gave excuses for Ryan Tannehill for the last
What's
2
the
years.
excuses now?
Okay,
There's
all right.
actually already a challenge from Twitter, one of your followers, Omar, in reference to your Tannehill schmill. Hippo USMC says, but you praised him in camp, and now you're off the bandwagon. Thought Laser was cracking the whip.
I would say Tannehill, and he does. He showed you in practice he was delivering on the deep ball. He showed you he was developing pocket presence. He was attacking the middle of the field. Accuracy wasn't that much of an issue in practice and in the exhibition season. But in fairness to me, Ryan Tannehill's wearing a red jersey. Nobody's rushing him.
Right.
Nobody's messing up his footwork. Nobody's going to hit him. Nobody's tackling him. In practice, it's not a real replication of what a quarterback is going to face. And if you, as you see, where's the deep ball? Where's the big play?
Zero.
This offense is predicated on the big play. I guarantee you Matt Moore can give you big plays. Ryan Tannehill, it's just not there. A lot of times he's got 3 reads on each route. He never gets past his second read. And a lot of the times where the big play is open, and I know a quarterback like Matt Moore would go for the big play, Ryan Tannehill's going for the double. That's not what makes this offense work.
All he's going to do is tuck it and run it for 40 yards. That will give him the big plays, right?
You need those plays, yes. Here's the biggest issue I have about Ryan Tannehill. There are plays in the Green Bay game where he did extend the play.
Yeah.
He scrambled out of pocket, eluded a sack, even though he's got poor pocket presence, eluded a sack, and found Mike Wallace for a big play. Probably what Mike Wallace's longest catch of the season, or his second longest catch of the season, 30-yard reception. And Mike Wallace is an improvising receiver. Things break down, he scrambles, gets open. Ryan Tannehill doesn't do that nearly enough. They don't roll him out of the pocket nearly enough. They don't use play-action plays primarily because they line up in the shotgun most of the time, and it doesn't lead to big plays. This offense doesn't fit the style of play that he's giving you. It's too conservative.
Let's go to our next question. It's from Julian Armentia at Jag13. He wants to know how much of the first half's bad passing game is on the QB, how much of it is on the offensive line, how much of it is on the receivers, how much of it is on the play calling. What's the problem?
It depends on the game. If you're talking about Green Bay, they only had 60 snaps on offense. Part of the reason is because Ryan Tannehill threw 2 interceptions.
Right.
One, he was staring down his receiver, and it was just a bad throw. He overthrew an open Brian Hart line. The problem that I have in terms of saying who's at fault is, in the first interception that he had, none of his receivers were open. In the second interception he had, really the pressure was on him to make something happen. None of his receivers were open, and his pocket was collapsing.
Right.
So he pulled the trigger. And I don't have a problem when a quarterback pulls the trigger. Now, would I love for it to have been an accurate deep ball? Absolutely. But if you look at this season so far, Ryan Tannehill has only been sacked 10 times.
Right.
10 times in 5 games, has 2 sacks a game. That's not bad. You look at the running game. The running game right now, I believe, is 7th in the NFL. That's not bad. Now, they can't run with power, but they are a respectable running game. So, and you look at the playmakers, you're getting touchdown from your wide receivers. You're not getting great tight end play, but your offense is efficient enough. Problem you're having is you're not very good on third downs, and you're turning the ball over too much. Some of that is fumbles on the playmakers. Some of that is the interceptions. Then he leads the league in deflected passes. You got to get better. You got to get better from an offensive standpoint.
And I think the people who have given excuses for Ryan Tannehill's poor play over the years, you can point to things for other people that have been the problems, other positions that have been the problems on offense. Right now, he is the problem on offense.
There is nothing else that's the problem. He's the problem.
The Dolphins got 3 starters back last week. Koamisi was back, roaming the middle of the defense. Mike Pouncey started his first game at right guard. Rashad Jones very active as he resumed his role as a starting safety. However, the team did have a devastating loss, losing Noshawn Moreno for the rest of the year. Omar, what was your impression of the impact that the 3 guys had coming back?
I liked Rashad Jones 2 years ago. I didn't like his play last season. I thought he needed to move into a role where he basically was freelancing. That was when he excelled in 2012. This year, it seems like they have switched him back to free safety. He plays more free safety, and Louis Delmas plays more as strong safety where he's in the box. I'm not really that comfortable with that, but ultimately it did lead to an efficient game for Rashad Jones. Wasn't really thrilled about Louis Delmas's play. I'm interested in seeing how it progresses as the season goes on. Now, Mike Pouncey probably had a very good game as a right guard. I think that's the future for him at this position, unless something happens to Sam Cistelli, and he's battling a fibula injury with his leg that limited his practice yesterday and probably today. But I think Mike Pouncey is ideally a better guard than a center. I love him at center, but he's physical enough to hold his point, anchor, get to the second level. Green Bay put their nose guard on Mike Pouncey to prevent him from getting to the second level and creating a surge. When you do that, you know you got something that you want to continue to invest. Teams know Mike Pouncey's a bad boy, and they're concerned about him. So I love that. I think Sam Cistelli's playing well enough to make it go over this year, and maybe next year you draft another center, you sign another center, and then you keep Mike where he is. And Koamisi, liked what I saw from him when he was in the game.
Right, didn't play a lot.
Problem is he didn't finish the game. Whether it's the ankle, he's still limited by the ankle injury. Whether it's his conditioning, it's not great. He's admitted it's not great. You got to figure out a way where Koamisi can finish that game, because Philip Wheeler doesn't need to be on the field.
That was miserable. Speaking of miserable, really the best this offense from a running standpoint had looked was that first game against the Patriots when Knowshon Moreno was in there doing his thing.
Yeah.
We won't see his thing anymore this season. How?
Probably anymore for his career, with the Dolphins.
This is it. All right.
No.
So how rough is this loss for the Dolphins this season?
It brings up the biggest issue that I have about this team, which is that they're a finesse team.
Yeah.
They are too finesse. When they need a 3rd and 2, when they need a 4th and 1, when they need a goal line run, they can't get it. They have to throw at the goal line, which means you are a punk of a team.
Right.
And Knowshon brought that power, that oomph. It's gone. Now you're relying on Daniel Thomas and Damian Williams to do it. We don't know.
I don't know. You know, watching before the game, you talk a lot about the dog. Knowshon Moreno he's just kind of in his own zone, just kind of, and that's
he's a little weird, but
and I think taking him out is hurts the swagger, hurts
somebody
the swagger
else
of
has
this
to
team.
find it. Somebody else has to find it. Mike Pouncey has that presence. Mike Wallace has that presence. Offensively, somebody else has to bring it. And you would love for it to be your quarterback. It's not.
That's never going to be the quarterback.
It's not.
The Dolphins reinstated Derek Shelby this week, allowing him to return to the team following a 1-game suspension for his misdemeanor arrest for trespassing and resisting arrest without violence. Did the Dolphins make the right call now throughout the whole thing, suspending him and then bringing him back? And how much of an impact does he have coming back?
How much of a suspension are you giving for a misdemeanor charge?
Yeah.
You know, what? At the most 1 game. Minnesota had a player who was arrested for a similar incident who's not suspended, played. I think that Derek Shelby, you had to suspend him 1 game to send a message to your entire team and the entire locker room. You don't make these mistakes. Now, the question is, what mistake did Derek Shelby make? It'll be interesting to see as the legal process of that case goes forward, because I have a hard time believing that either the state attorney's office is going to prosecute him or that a jury is going to find him guilty. We can be waiting a year from now to find out that Derek Shelby is an innocent man, but it doesn't matter. You've already given your organization and yourself a black eye. It is what it is in the NFL. Right now in the NFL, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Getting back in the defensive line rotation, are we going to feel a difference this week with Derek Shelby back in there?
Absolutely. He's given you 6 tackles and 2 sacks in his first 4 games. I didn't think Terrace Fede played bad, but he's not Derek Shelby.
Right.
And even when Deion Jordan comes back next week, he's not Derek Shelby.
Right.
Derek Shelby's consistent. He's reliable. He's a force. He's a pass rushing presence. He's good. And yeah, you could have, if you would have given Cameron Wake 10 snaps on the sidelines, maybe he would have finished the game stronger.
Our next question comes from D. Woods. The Dolphins' defense is top 13 in ranks, but 24th in points. The offense 3rd down efficiency is bad. What are the issues here with the defense?
They're just not getting off the field on 3rd down, and from a red zone standpoint, they're not very sharp, which is something that's been consistent through Kevin Coyle's career. They're pretty good in the red zone, and they're pretty good on 3rd down, but right now they're converting 41% of their 3rd downs. and quarterback rating. I know you just faced Aaron Rodgers, and I know you played Tom Brady early in the season. I know you played Alex Smith.
But this is the NFL. There are great players on every offense.
Up next, you've got Phillip Rivers, you got Matt Schaub, you've got Peyton Manning, you've got Joe Flacco. That's no excuse. You're going to have to play good quarterbacks.
They have Matt Schaub?
Not Matt Schaub, Matt Stafford. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Now
that would have been something.
Opposing quarterbacks have an 88.4 passer rating.
Right.
That's winning football in my perspective. They've thrown 10 touchdowns. The cornerbacks have to play better. That's Cortland Finnegan. That's Brent Grimes. That's Jimmy Wilson. That's Will Davis. All of them have to play better, including the safeties. I think the two touchdowns that they gave through the air, the cornerbacks weren't getting any safety help. Jimmy Wilson is responsible, in my opinion, for the Randall Cobb touchdown. He's wisely in the back of the end zone. He should have stepped into the passing lane. It happens. You make mistakes. Cornerbacks are the one position where they get beat.
Right.
Their job, they are going to get beat. They make plays probably 30% of the time. You just hope that those plays are at the right time. Unfortunately, against Green Bay, Cortland Finnegan, Brent Grimes slips, allows the big fourth down conversion. Cortland Finnegan slips, can't tackle the wide receiver in bounds, and then Philip Wheeler's left to hang out dry.
Right. And on the Jordy Nelson touchdown, he ran right by Brent Grimes, and you could tell, obviously, Grimes thought he was getting a little help back there.
Yeah, Rashad Jones left him out to dry. But, in that situation, and I've said this, and Kevin Coyle claims I'm a liar, they play absolutely too much off-man coverage inside the 10-yard line. I mean, if your team is at the 9, which Green Bay was, and your cornerback standing at the 2, yeah, I'm running a quick slant because I'm running full speed. If you have contact with me at any point before the ball gets there, it's pass interference. Why wouldn't I take it? Why not be closer at the line of scrimmage? They give you 5 yards for contact for a reason. Dolphins rarely use it.
It's not that often where we see these cornerbacks lose a matchup as much as they did against the Packers last week.
I've never seen it. I've never seen Brent Grimes struggle. This is the first time.
And you could tell, talking to him afterwards, that he took it very personally. Very personally. This week they play the Chicago Bears. Maybe the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL.
Best offensive tandem. I think they're running back. I think their tight end. I think their 2 wide receivers. I think their slot receiver is the best in the NFL. You can't name me a unit that I would prefer as opposed to what Chicago has. And now the quarterback,
But he does a good enough job getting it to those guys, using the weapons he has.
He has got right now a 90, I believe it's a 99 passer rating. Yeah. So maybe Jay Cutler's growing up. We'll see. Now the question is, Miami's cornerbacks are 5'10".
Right.
These receivers are 6'4", 230 pounds. That's a bad matchup.
Right.
You have nobody to defend Philip Wheeler. I mean, to defend Martellus Bennett.
Right.
Nobody. And Matt Forte leads the NFL in receptions of everybody, not just backs, tight ends, wide receivers. He's averaging 7.9 catches per game. Who's going to stop them?
And Cortland Finnegan likes to do that thing to tackle where he jumps on the guy's back and brings him down. That's not going to happen with Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall's going to carry Cortland Finnegan another 12
what's
15
funny
yards
about that? Cortland Finnegan is the one cornerback Brandon Marshall hates. And the reason that he hates him is because Cortland Finnegan is in his head from previous matchups. And the last time that Brandon Marshall was a Dolphin and Cortland Finnegan played the Dolphins, he was playing with Chad Henne, and Brandon Marshall got completely frustrated, infuriated, out his game by the fact that Cortland Finnegan would call every single route he was going to run and tell him how horrible his quarterback was. And it was the truth, and it got to Brandon.
Right.
And so this is going to be an interesting game.
Well, I think what's interesting about the two of them is that they've both sort of matured a little bit over the years. I think they're different players right now than they may have been a few years ago.
You are who you are at your core. Okay. And Brandon Marshall is sensitive, and Cortland Finnegan is a jerk.
Okay. Well, we know a lot about Brandon Marshall. He spent 2 years in Miami making plays, causing controversy before being traded away for 2 third-round picks. And now he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
He was one of the best wide receivers when he was here.
So why didn't it work here?
Joe Philbin doesn't have the personality to coach a Brandon Marshall. That's just the truth. And he wanted him off his team. They traded him for scrap metal to send him with Jay Cutler. They got 2 third-round picks that I can't even justify who they are at the present moment because, one was Michael Egnew. It doesn't really matter. You screwed that one.
Right.
Screwed that one up. Sometimes coaches are going to have to coach players with strong personalities. Brandon Marshall has a strong personality. Joe Philbin is not capable of doing that. Realities.
All right, before we take some rapid fire questions, we've been asking you to send us your video questions. Just use your own little iPhone. Take a video of you asking questions to us, and our first question comes from Ryan Mackey. Take it away, Ryan.
Hey Omar, just wanted to say that I'm a huge fan. I've been following you on Twitter and fins.com for a long time. It's not easy to fight off your haters, but I do my best. I just wanted to ask you, do you see Jarvis Landry moving into a starting receiver spot in place of Brian Hartline or possibly Brandon Gibson next year? All right, have a good one.
So Landry, what do you think?
Thanks for your question, Ryan. I would say that it's time the Dolphins invest in Jarvis Landry. They have been investing in him. I don't expect Brandon Gibson to get his slot role back just because Brandon Gibson's probably going to be cut next year.
Yeah.
Jarvis is a future. You want to continue to invest and develop in him. I think he's better as a slot receiver than outside the boundary because he doesn't have that much speed. He's already second in the NFL on the team in receptions with 18. I don't see you turning back.
Right now, I mean, you would say he's the second best receiver on the team.
No, I wouldn't. I would still say that Brian Hartline is the second best receiver on the team. Unfortunately, the Dolphins have no interest in using him.
Or fine. I mean, so what's his issue? What is Brian Hartline's issue?
He's not the primary receiver. He's not the secondary read. And Ryan Tannehill's being asked to not rely on the blankie.
Yeah.
And I would honestly, if it were me and I was Bill Lazor, I would make Brian Hartline the primary receiver for at least the first series, get him involved in the game, make teams have to justify covering the slant, covering the comeback, and then hit you with Mike Wallace. Right. And, here's a question. You're making Mike Wallace a possession receiver.
Yeah.
Is that really in your best interest as a team? What does Mike Wallace do? I agree. Mike Wallace is playing well, 4 touchdowns. He's gotten 8 pounds of muscle. He's bigger. He's playing bigger. But is he a possession receiver?
No. Yeah. No.
I mean, are you using Mike Wallace to the best of his capabilities?
No, definitely. I mean,
and are you using Brian Hartline to the best of his capabilities?
That's definitely not. You're not using Brian Hartline at all, so you can't be using him at the best of his.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with him from an injury standpoint. He produced 2 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, and now he's barely getting 3 passes a game.
Barely even getting looked at.
No. Hey, if you want to move away from Brian Hartline and you don't want to make him a primary option, okay, no problem. But don't be surprised when Ryan Tannehill isn't comfortable, is struggling with his accuracy, has trust issues with his wide receiver because that was evident against Green Bay. Wide receivers weren't getting open. Don't be surprised. Blankie's not there.
Well, and then, as you said, the coaches are the ones who think about, okay, Jarvis Landry's the guy we want to develop, so he's the one we want to be out. But when you're out there, Ryan Tannehill's not thinking about which one of these receivers do I want to develop.
He's
trying to get to the guys who are open. He's trying to get to...
He's following his reads. If you make Brian Hartline a primary read, things might change. He was a primary read against Oakland, and you saw how Ryan Tannehill played. Well, he's been a primary read for 1 of 5 games. You actually won the 1 game in convincing fashion. Just my opinion, What do I know?
Let's take some rapid-fire questions. Kurt Rosenstein asks us, any chance Billy Turner gets to start at left tackle if Brandon Albert can't go on Sunday?
No. It's going to be Juwan James. Juwan James is the guy who's being developed as a left tackle, backup left tackle. However, I would be practicing Billy Turner at left tackle instead of left guard, especially now the Dolphins just lost Tony Hills, who got claimed by Dallas.
Right.
Just literally less than an hour ago. He was a veteran on the practice squad. He was the guy that the break in case of emergency offensive lineman. Right now, Billy Turner's your best left tackle. You probably need to develop him as a left tackle because Brandon's got shoulder injuries. Now he's got elbow issues. I really don't see Brandon Albert finishing the season healthy. And you better get somebody ready to fill that void.
Yeah, I mean, he came back in the game, and the false start problems, it was messy. He's been great.
He's played well.
He's played well.
He gave up his first sack last week. He's played well.
He's played very well, but when he's playing at 75%.
But he's still playing well. But my theory as a fake GM, which is what I often play in the Sun Sentinel, is following the Bill Parcells mantra, which is prepare your team for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for the Dolphins for the entire season is losing Brandon Albert. Are you prepared for that? Because it's coming. Are you prepared for that? And if you're not, you're a horrible coach. In my opinion, how you prepare for that is you develop Billy Turner at left tackle, the position he played at North Dakota State.
All right, these are called rapid fires because they're supposed to be quick. At Jimmy Wayne Jimmy Wayne 1 asks us, why does Philbin keep saying he is calling offensive plays? I thought that's what Bill Lazor was supposed to be doing.
He is, but Philbin is the head coach. Everything falls on him. On third down, if they would have thrown that ball and it would have been an incompletion, it would have been a sack, everybody would have said, why didn't you run the ball? It doesn't fall on Bill Lazor. It falls on Joe Philbin. I'm fine with his decision.
I am too. I don't think that was, of all the issues that he had, I felt like that was the least egregious, all the many issues.
Yes.
Here's one we just took. Aaron Roberts asks, I agree with everything you are saying. Have you ever thought about going into coaching?
Not coaching personnel, and I've had opportunities, but
Not interested. Not interested.
Not right money.
Not
not
right
even
money.
close to the right money.
Okay, if you had to, let's see. Gel Shark asks us, who's the bigger threat on the Bears, Matt Forte or Martellus Bennett?
Martellus Bennett.
You think so?
He leads all tight ends in broken tackles. Your linebackers can't tackle. Everybody but Jelani Jenkins can't cover. It's kind of, Matt Forte's going to get a lot of opportunities, but running doesn't really concern me. Catching passes, Jelani Jenkins has got it. Who covers Martellus Bennett?
Right. Okay, D Hicks 00 asked us, if our QB is holding us back, why not run the ball and just take it out of his hands?
Because you can't really run the ball. You run by finesse. Where if there's 6 men in the box, Ryan Tannehill's calling a run play. If there's 7 men in the box, Ryan Tannehill's calling the pass play. So you run when the numbers are to your advantage. What's happening now against the Dolphins are teams are saying, okay, 7 in the box, Ryan Tannehill, you beat us, and he can't.
All right, and let's take one more because I really like this one. At Skip_1951 asks, last play of the game, 4th and 1 from the 1, Dolphins down by 4. Who should the ball go to?
4th and 1 from the 1, Dolphins are down by how much?
4.
4, who should the ball go to? It should go to the slot receiver on the first play that they ran against the Atlanta Falcons in the exhibition season.
Okay. The answer is whoever Philip Wheeler is covering. That's the
You mean
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Whoever but that's Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you, was that a treat watching Aaron Rodgers live in person play?
No, not really.
I mean, he's incredible.
He's good. That's what elite quarterbacks do. And you'll see a couple of those in Phillip Rivers and Peyton Manning. The question is, you got to find one. Dolphin fans, you got to find one.
I thought it was
And
pretty
if you
incredible.
don't have one, which you don't have in Ryan Tannehill, you better keep looking.
Okay. We both started rough on our picks.
Absolutely.
Really rough.
Because this is kind of an inconsistent team.
You think so?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, then apparently there have been more consistent the past 2 weeks because we've both been right, begging them to beat the Raiders and then to lose to the Packers. So, biggest concern of this Dolphins-Bears game and who you picking to win?
Both teams have the same identical shortcoming, which is linebacker play. The Packers started 3 young players because all 3 of their starting linebackers were hurt last week. Darryl Sharpton's starting. Christian Jones is starting. I can't remember who the other guy is. They're inexperienced. They don't have any chemistry. They don't have any communication. Problem is, Dolphins can't exploit it. Charles Clay isn't playing good enough yet. Now, on the flip side, Dolphins got linebacker issues too. No surprise there. Problem is, Bears have too many weapons.
So many weapons.
And a very creative offensive coach that can identify a weak link, identify a matchup, and tell Jay Cutler, go get it. I'm picking the Bears to win 24-23. I just don't think the linebacker play is good enough for Miami. And you have to force Jay Cutler into turnovers. The Dolphins only have 1 game where they've got interceptions this year. 1 out of 5.
I don't see them being able to contain that Bears offense whatsoever. They're going to give up at least 4 touchdowns in this game. The question is, can they
4 touchdowns.
score enough? 28-24, Bears get the win.
There's no way in my mind that the Dolphins defense gives up 4 touchdowns. Doesn't happen. That's too prideful of a unit. It's not happening. However, I will agree with you that this offense is going to be hard to contain. Somebody's got to step up. Cameron Wake, Olivier Vernon, somebody's got to make Jay Cutler play like Jay Cutler that we all know. It hasn't happened this season. The question is, who will do it? And I just don't see anybody doing it.
Okay, that's it for X's and Omar. We're here live every Wednesday at 12:15, breaking down the Dolphins. You can find the replay of the show on sunsentinel.com. If you're looking for more Dolphins news, you can find Omar Kelly's First and 10 with Dolphins rookie offensive tackle Juwan James on the sunsentinel.com sports pages. Thanks for coming and watching. We'll see you next week.